Jason Miles stood at the edge of the training grounds, watching as the last rays of the Terran sun dipped below the horizon. The air was filled with the distant sounds of cadets finishing their daily routines, but for Jason, the real challenge was just beginning. "Miles, are you daydreaming again?" barked Sergeant Harlow, a towering figure whose voice could cut through the din of chatter like a laser. Jason snapped to attention, his gaze sharp. "No, sir," he replied, his voice steady. Harlow walked over, his boots thudding heavily on the metallic floor. "You've been assigned to Xerox. It's not a playground. The conditions are harsh, and the enemies are not the kind you can see coming from a mile away." Jason nodded. "I understand, sir. I'm ready to prove my worth." "Proving your worth isn't just about pulling a trigger, son. It's about knowing when not to shoot. You'll be far from backup. Your decisions will have weight." Harlow's eyes bore into him, searching for any hint of hesitation. "I won't let you down." "Good. Pack up. You leave at 0600. And Miles—" Harlow paused, softening slightly. "Stay sharp. Every move you make out there will reflect back on Earth." As Harlow walked away, Jason turned to his locker, his mind racing with thoughts of the mission ahead. The locker room was almost empty, save for his friend Marco, who was waiting for him with a wry smile. "Xerox, huh? That's deep space, man. You really scored the jackpot," Marco said, clapping him on the back. "It's a critical mission. I'm not going out there to sightsee," Jason replied, his voice a mix of anxiety and excitement. "Just watch your back, okay? Those alien factions don't play by our rules. And from what I've heard, Xerox is like a maze of canyons and dust storms." Jason stuffed his sniper rifle into the rugged case. "I've trained in worse conditions," he said, though the bravado in his voice was more for his own reassurance. "You know, they say the Council's got eyes and ears everywhere out there. Can't even sneeze without it being logged and analyzed," Marco continued, leaning against the locker. "That's why I'm going. We need to know what they're up to. And if I can take out a high-ranking official, it'll send a message." Marco shook his head. "Just make sure the message isn't your obituary, buddy. Remember, those guys don't want us there. They've managed without humans for centuries." Jason locked his locker and slung his bag over his shoulder. "It's not just about humans and aliens, Marco. It's about maintaining balance. If we don't step in, who will?" The two friends walked out of the locker room into the cool evening air. The stars were just beginning to peek out, a reminder of the vast, unexplored galaxy that awaited him. "Promise me something, Miles," Marco said as they stopped at the transport bay. "Don't turn into one of those war heroes in the vids. Just come back in one piece, okay?" Jason grinned, clapping Marco on the shoulder. "No heroics, just duty. I'll be back before you know it." As Jason boarded the shuttle that would take him to his new assignment, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. He settled into his seat, the hum of the engine a steady reminder of the journey ahead. With a final look back at the receding figure of his friend, he braced himself for what was to come on Xerox. The mission was clear, but the outcome was anything but. The shuttle descended through the swirling red sands of Xerox, landing with a soft thud on the rugged outskirts of the alien faction's territory. The world outside was a blur of ochre and crimson, painted by relentless winds that sculpted the landscape continuously. Jason stepped out, his boots sinking slightly into the soft, fine sand. The base was a few miles north, nestled between jagged rock formations that seemed to rise straight out of the ground, like the spines of some giant beast. Jason adjusted his sniper rifle, calibrated his scope, and started the trek under the oppressive heat of Xerox's twin suns. After hours of careful navigation through the canyons, Jason found a vantage point on a high ridge. Below him, the rogue faction's base sprawled like a metallic virus, stark against the natural beauty of the desert. He settled down, the rock face cool against his back, and scanned the area through his scope. "This is Falcon Eye in position," Jason whispered into his comms, connecting back to Earth Command. "Copy, Falcon Eye. Verify target and proceed with caution," the distant yet crisp reply came. As Jason watched, figures moved within the base, aliens of various shapes and sizes, but his focus was on finding the official marked in his briefing. Hours passed, with the suns dipping towards the horizon, casting long shadows across the rugged terrain. Then he saw him, an alien officer, distinguishable by the ornate markings on his uniform, stepped out into the open, overseeing the operations. Jason's finger hovered over the trigger, his breathing slowed. He knew the consequences of what was to come next. The officer paused, looking out towards the horizon, perhaps enjoying the brief respite from his duties. Jason aligned the reticle with his target, the crosshairs steady on the alien's head. "Target confirmed. Taking the shot," Jason murmured, and with a slow, measured squeeze, he fired. The sound of the shot was swallowed by the vast desert, but the effect was immediate. The officer collapsed, causing immediate chaos among the ranks. Jason didn't wait to watch. He knew he needed to move. Grabbing his gear, he retreated back to the safety of the canyons as alarms began to blare throughout the base. "Shot successful. Extraction needed at secondary LZ," Jason reported, his voice calm despite his pounding heart. "Understood. Head south, Falcon Eye. Extraction team en route." As Jason made his way through the narrow gorges, his mind raced. He had just killed a high-ranking alien officer. This was not just a shot fired. It was a declaration of disruption. The Council would not take kindly to this act, but it was done in the hope of gaining crucial intelligence. Suddenly, a shrill sound pierced the air. Drones. They had launched drones after him. Jason increased his pace, dodging and weaving through the natural cover, his heart racing as the whir of the drones grew louder behind him. He ducked into a small cave, catching his breath. The drones hovered outside, scanning the area. Jason knew he had only moments to think. He pulled out a small EMP grenade from his pack. Standard issue for such missions, rarely used but now potentially life-saving. With a flick of his wrist, he threw the grenade out of the cave. It erupted with a burst of electric energy, momentarily lighting up the area. The drones dropped like flies, disabled by the EMP. Jason didn't wait to see if more would come. He sprinted from his hiding spot, pushing his body to its limits as he navigated the rocky terrain. Every step took him closer to the extraction point. Every breath he took was heavy with the dust of Xerox and the weight of his actions. As he finally saw the lights of the extraction shuttle in the distance, relief washed over him. But it was short-lived. This mission was just the beginning, and the galaxy had just become a much more dangerous place for Jason Miles. After the successful extraction, Jason Miles found himself aboard a Galactic Council command ship orbiting Xerox. The air inside was tense, a palpable charge of uncertainty and anxiety, as the ship's crew monitored the fallout from Jason's mission. In the cramped debriefing room, Jason sat across from Commander Tellin, a stern-faced human with deep-set eyes that seemed to look right through him. "Your shot has caused more than a ripple, Miles. It started a tsunami. Every faction is on high alert, and our intel suggests there's a bounty on your head." Jason leaned forward, his hands clasped tightly together. "I did what I was assigned to do, sir." "Yes, you did," Tellin replied, his voice even. "But understand, this goes beyond your assignment now. You've become a symbol, a target. Our enemies will use you to galvanize their people against us." As the reality of his situation sank in, Jason felt a chill despite the ship's regulated warmth. "What are our options?" "We keep you moving, make it hard for them to track you down. Meanwhile, you'll continue to operate under deep cover. This isn't just about survival now. It's about gathering more intel and staying one step ahead." The door to the debriefing room slid open, and a security officer entered, handing a datapad to Commander Tellin. After a quick glance, Tellin's expression hardened. "It seems they've already traced us to this sector. We need to move." Jason followed Tellin out of the room and through the bustling corridors of the ship, heading towards the hangar. As they walked, the ship's alarm system blared to life, a stark reminder of the urgency of their situation. In the hangar, a small stealth shuttle was being prepped for departure. Tellin turned to Jason, handing him a compact survival kit. "You're heading to the fringe worlds. Lay low, gather information, and do not engage unless absolutely necessary." Jason nodded, feeling the weight of his isolation as he boarded the shuttle. As the bay doors closed behind him, sealing him off from the relative safety of the command ship, he settled into the pilot's seat. The small craft detached smoothly from the ship, disappearing against the backdrop of the star-studded blackness. The journey was a blur of starfields and nebulae as Jason navigated through less traveled routes to avoid detection. His thoughts were a mix of regret and determination, replaying the mission and its aftermath over and over in his mind. Days later, as he approached the shadowy, rugged terrain of the Fringe Worlds, Jason's sensors picked up a signal, an encrypted distress call, faint but unmistakable. His instincts told him to steer clear, to maintain his course and focus on his survival. Yet, something in the garbled message made him hesitate. He rerouted the shuttle, tracing the signal to a small, barren moon. As he landed, the surface was eerily silent, the atmosphere thin and cold. Jason geared up, his rifle slung over his shoulder, and ventured outside. The source of the distress call was a downed scout ship, its hull breached and scorched. Jason approached cautiously, scanning for any signs of life or ambush. Inside, he found an alien, injured but alive. It was one of the Rogorians, a species known for their fierce loyalty to the Galactic Council. The Rogorian looked up, fear evident in its eyes as it saw Jason. But there was also relief, a confusing mix that mirrored Jason's own feelings. "Help," it rasped, its voice weak. Jason hesitated, aware of the risk. Helping this alien could expose him, draw more enemies to his location. Yet, leaving it to die was not an option he could live with. He made a decision, one that might seal his fate. "I'll get you out of here," he said, his voice more confident than he felt. As he administered first aid, the line between hunter and hunted blurred. Jason was no longer just a target. He was a rescuer, potentially turning an enemy into an unlikely ally. As he secured the alien in the shuttle, ready to lift off, Jason knew that this act of mercy might have further complicated his already perilous existence. But it also reaffirmed his humanity in a galaxy that seemed increasingly devoid of it. Jason's shuttle streaked across the galaxy towards a secluded asteroid base, the wounded Rogorian resting in the back. As they approached the dimly lit hangar of the hidden outpost, Jason felt a pang of uncertainty. Helping the alien had been instinctual, but he knew the consequences could be severe. The shuttle landed with a gentle thud, and the hangar doors closed silently behind them. Jason assisted the Rogorian, now semi-conscious, into a makeshift medical bay inside the base. The base was sparsely equipped, but had the essentials for treating injuries and providing refuge. As the Rogorian began to regain strength, it spoke, its voice raspy but filled with gratitude. "You saved me, human." "Why?" Jason paused, considering his words carefully. "Leaving you there didn't seem like the right option. We're all just trying to survive out here." The Rogorian studied him for a moment, then reached for a hidden compartment in its tattered uniform. Jason tensed, but the alien pulled out a small data chip. "I owe you my life. This information, it is why they wanted me dead." Jason took the chip, examining it. "What's on this?" "Secrets," the Rogorian whispered. "Secrets about the Council, about why they fear your kind so much." Jason inserted the chip into the base's computer. The screen flickered to life, displaying documents, communications, and encrypted files detailing a covert agreement among the galaxy's major alien factions. The pact was clear: to maintain surveillance over humanity, to manipulate political decisions within the human sectors, and to stifle human advancement in critical technological areas. The revelations were staggering. The alien races had been working to ensure that humanity remained under control, viewed as potential disruptors of galactic peace. This manipulation extended back decades, predating the official acceptance of humans into the Galactic Council. Jason looked to the Rogorian, his mind racing. This is why they hunt us, why they hate us." The alien nodded slowly. "Humans are unpredictable, feared for your resilience and rapid adaptation. These qualities, they threaten the established order." As Jason absorbed the gravity of the situation, his purpose shifted. It wasn't just about survival now, it was about exposing the truth. "We need to get this information out. Everyone needs to know." The Rogorian agreed, its voice firm. "I will help you. The factions must not find us. If they do—" Before it could finish, alarms blared throughout the base. They had been found. Jason grabbed his rifle, and the two hurriedly made their way to the control room. Monitors showed a squadron of alien fighters approaching fast, weapons armed. Jason set the base's defenses, while the Rogorian worked on sending out the data to trusted contacts. "We might not get out of this," Jason said, watching the fighters draw closer. The Rogorian looked at him, an expression of shared resolve on its face. "Then we will make it count." The fighters began their assault, bombarding the asteroid with powerful energy blasts. Jason and the Rogorian returned fire, managing to down a couple of fighters with the base's defensive turrets. But the enemy was relentless. As the base shuddered under the impact of the attacks, Jason saw a transmission confirmation blink on the screen. The data had been sent. No matter what happened next, the truth would come out. With a grim nod to each other, Jason and the Rogorian prepared for the next wave. This fight was no longer just about them. It was about the future of humanity and their place in the galaxy. They would stand their ground, come what may. The shock waves from the asteroid base's final stand rippled across the galaxy, both literally and metaphorically. As Jason and the Rogorian barely escaped with their lives, hiding aboard a salvaged escape pod, the data they had released began to ignite debates, conflicts, and chaos among various alien races and factions. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the human government was in turmoil. The revelations of the covert alien pact to suppress and control humanity's advancements and integration into the Galactic Council caused public outrage and a demand for immediate action. General Carter, the leader of Earth's defense forces, convened an urgent meeting with top military and political leaders. The room was tense, the air thick with anticipation and dread. "Ladies and gentlemen," General Carter began, his voice grave, "the information we've received not only confirms our suspicions but presents us with an unprecedented threat. Our so-called allies have been orchestrating our containment. We must decide our course of action." The discussion was heated, with some advocating for diplomatic negotiations to salvage peace, while others, fueled by a sense of betrayal, pushed for a more aggressive response. As the debate raged on, an aide rushed in with a new message. "Sir, we've detected large-scale mobilizations by several alien civilizations. It appears they're not waiting for our response." The room fell silent. The decision was clear. "Prepare for war," General Carter declared solemnly. "We will not be shackled or manipulated any longer. We fight for our place in the galaxy." Back in the galaxy's outer reaches, Jason and the Rogorian, now allies bound by shared secrets and survival, intercepted communications detailing the rapid formation of alien coalitions against Earth. Jason felt a cold resolve settle over him. The galaxy had chosen its course, and so had he. The first skirmishes were brutal. Alien forces, motivated by a mixture of fear, anger, and a desire to maintain control, launched preemptive strikes on human outposts. Earth's forces, although caught off guard, responded with fierce determination, managing to hold their ground. Jason, utilizing his sniping skills and the strategic acumen he had honed over countless missions, played a critical role in several key battles. From taking out high-value targets to sabotaging enemy supply lines, he was a ghost in the void, always moving, always impactful. As the war escalated, Jason received a new mission: lead a covert strike team to infiltrate a major alien command center. The goal was to disrupt their operational capabilities and gather crucial intelligence. The team, composed of highly trained soldiers from various human colonies, moved stealthily through enemy territory. Their approach was calculated, each move precise. As they neared the command center, hidden in the shadow of a massive asteroid, Jason surveyed the area through his scope. "There," he whispered, pointing out the guard patterns and defensive installations to his team. "We strike at the shift change, swift, silent, and deadly." The operation was a success, but not without cost. They lost good people, friends who had fought bravely. As Jason looked around at the survivors, his heart heavy with loss, but buoyant with victory, he realized this war was just beginning. Humanity was fighting not just for survival, but for its rightful place in the galaxy. And he would be there on the front lines making sure they got it. The war between humanity and the alien coalitions raged on, spanning across multiple star systems. Earth, once seen as a minor member of the Galactic Council, had now emerged as a formidable force, resilient under pressure and innovative in tactics. Jason Miles, recognized as one of the most effective operatives in the human military, found himself at the center of critical operations. On a desolate moon orbiting a gas giant in the Hydrax system, Jason was part of a key offensive aimed at capturing a strategic fuel depot, essential for maintaining the alien fleet's mobility. The battle was fierce, with heavy casualties on both sides. Jason's team maneuvered through the rugged terrain, using the jagged rocks for cover as they advanced toward the depot. "Miles, take your squad and flank the eastern ridge. We need to cut them off," commanded Colonel Hayes over the comlink. Jason acknowledged with a quick nod, signaling his team to follow. They moved quickly, the sounds of battle echoing around the stark landscape. As they reached the ridge, Jason spotted an enemy unit setting up an artillery position. Taking careful aim, he eliminated the threats one by one, his shots precise and deadly. The enemy artillery fell silent, giving his forces the advantage they needed to push forward. After securing the depot, Jason's attention turned to the next phase of the war. Intelligence had located a high-value target, an alien command ship believed to be coordinating the enemy's war efforts in the sector. Capturing or destroying this ship could potentially turn the tide of the war in favor of Earth. Jason was tasked with leading a covert infiltration team aboard the ship. They approached under the cover of a meteor shower, using the natural debris as camouflage. Boarding the alien vessel was risky, but Jason's reputation and experience made him the ideal leader for this critical mission. Once aboard, Jason and his team used stealth and non-lethal tactics to avoid raising alarms. They navigated through the narrow corridors of the ship, disabling security systems and gathering vital intelligence along the way. Reaching the ship's command center, they came face to face with the enemy commander, a high-ranking official of the Thalosian fleet. Jason initiated a tense negotiation, hoping to avoid further bloodshed. "We don't have to continue like this," Jason proposed, his weapon lowered but ready. "End the hostilities, and let's discuss a peaceful resolution." The Thalosian, known for their strategic minds and not easily swayed, paused, assessing the sincerity of Jason's words. After a tense moment, the commander nodded slowly, signaling to his crew to stand down. "This war has cost us much, human. Perhaps it is time to consider alternatives," the Thalosian admitted. With the command ship secured and a temporary ceasefire in place, Jason contacted Earth Command, relaying the news of their successful operation and the potential for peace talks. The relief and excitement were palpable, even through the static of the comlink. Jason's role in these negotiations would be crucial. His actions had not only shown the strength of humanity, but also its capacity for mercy and diplomacy. As he prepared to meet with representatives from various alien factions, he knew that the outcome of these talks could redefine humanity's place in the galaxy and possibly bring an end to the war. As the ceasefires took hold and delegations began to gather, Jason found himself not only as a soldier, but as a peacemaker. He was ready to fight for peace with as much determination as he had fought in the war. The ceasefires brought a fragile peace to the war-torn galaxy as leaders from various factions gathered on Vion, a neutral planet chosen for its symbolic significance and its untouched beauty amidst the chaos. Jason Miles, now seen as a hero and a symbol of human determination, was among the delegates, his sniper skills temporarily set aside for diplomacy. The summit was held in a grand hall built into the side of a crystalline mountain, offering a panoramic view of Vion's serene landscapes. Security was tight, with representatives from all sides aware of the high stakes. Jason, however, was not just a delegate. He was also part of the covert security team, vigilantly scanning the crowd for any signs of trouble. As the talks commenced, tensions were palpable. The alien factions, some still harboring deep-seated resentment and mistrust towards humanity, were cautious in their negotiations. Jason listened intently, his years of combat sharpening his ability to read the room, to anticipate conflict before it erupted. Midway through the discussions, Jason's keen eyes caught a subtle, suspicious movement near one of the back exits. Excusing himself discreetly, he followed the figure, a cloaked individual whose presence was not registered on the security logs. Moving silently, Jason tracked the intruder to a secluded corridor. Without warning, the figure turned, revealing a detonator in hand. The intent was clear: to disrupt the summit and reignite hostilities. Reacting swiftly, Jason tackled the assailant to the ground, the detonator skittering away harmlessly across the floor. The struggle was brief. The would-be saboteur was no match for Jason's trained prowess. With the threat neutralized, Jason dragged the intruder back to the main hall, revealing the failed attack to the shocked delegates. This act of violence, intended to shatter the fragile peace, instead solidified the resolve of the factions. The realization that they had a common enemy, one who desired continuous war, united them more than any speech could. Today, we've seen that our greatest threat is not from each other, but from those who profit from our division, Jason addressed the assembly, his voice firm and compelling. His words resonated, and the talks took a more collaborative turn. Agreements were forged for mutual defense and the sharing of technology and resources. Jason, once a lone sniper, found himself a key figure in these historic accords. As the summit concluded, the leaders signed a treaty, marking the beginning of a new era of cooperation. Jason stood among them, not with a rifle, but with a pen, contributing his signature to the document. His journey from a soldier to a diplomat was complete, but he knew the real work. The effort to maintain peace was just beginning. The delegates dispersed, leaving the hall with a sense of cautious optimism. Jason lingered, looking out over the verdant valleys of Vion. The planet, peaceful and pristine, reminded him of Earth, and how much had been sacrificed to get to this point. Returning to his quarters, Jason felt a profound sense of accomplishment mixed with weariness. He had fought hard battles, both on the field and in the negotiation room. Now, as he prepared to return home, he contemplated his future. The galaxy had changed, and so had he. The sniper was now a peacemaker, and he was ready to take on this new role, whatever challenges it might bring. As the shuttle carrying Jason Miles back to Earth entered the planet's atmosphere, the once familiar sight of the blue and green globe filled him with a new sense of purpose. The war had ended, and the historic peace treaty was signed. But Jason knew the real challenge lay in the aftermath, the implementation of peace across a galaxy scarred by conflict. Upon landing, Jason was greeted not just as a returning soldier, but as a hero and a diplomat who had helped broker a crucial peace. Cameras flashed and people cheered as he walked across the tarmac, his uniform adorned with medals of valor and ribbons of service. Yet, beneath the ceremonial welcome, he carried the weight of his new responsibilities. Jason was quickly whisked away to a series of briefings and debriefings. High-ranking officials and diplomats from various sectors were eager to understand the nuances of the agreements made and the details of the alien technologies that would now be shared. Jason, at the center of these discussions, advocated for a balanced approach to integration and cooperation. In the weeks that followed, Jason took on a role that straddled both military and diplomatic realms. He was appointed as an advisor to the new Interstellar Relations Council, formed to oversee the implementation of the treaty agreements. His first-hand experience and insight were invaluable in navigating the complex interplay of politics, technology, and culture. One of his first initiatives was to establish a training program for diplomats and soldiers from Earth and the allied alien factions. The program focused on cultural exchange, combat training, and collaborative missions to rebuild war-torn regions. Jason personally led several missions, his leadership style marked by a blend of empathy and decisiveness. Through these efforts, once skeptical alien communities began to view humans differently. The shared experiences on these missions helped break down long-standing prejudices and build trust. Jason's belief in the power of cooperation over conflict became a guiding principle for many. As the anniversary of the treaty approached, a grand celebration was planned on Vion, the same neutral planet where the treaty was signed. Jason was invited to speak, a testament to his pivotal role in the ongoing peace process. Standing on the dais, overlooking a crowd of diverse beings from across the galaxy, Jason felt a surge of optimism. He began his speech not with a recount of battles or strategies, but with a vision for the future. Today we celebrate not just a year of peace, but the beginning of a new era for our galaxy, Jason said, his voice echoing across the assembly. The challenges we face are many, but together we have the strength to overcome them. Let us continue to build on the foundations we've laid, fostering a community that values respect, understanding, and mutual benefit. His words were met with applause, not just polite clapping, but a genuine acknowledgement of the shared journey towards lasting peace. After the ceremonies, as leaders mingled and shared stories of progress and plans for the future, Jason felt a quiet pride in what they had achieved. Returning to Earth, Jason looked up at the stars, now not as battlefields, but as destinations for exploration and collaboration. He knew the peace they had forged was fragile, but it was real and worth every effort to preserve and strengthen. As the sun set, casting long shadows over the peaceful Earth, Jason realized his journey had changed him profoundly. From a sniper to a peacemaker, his legacy would not be marked by the enemies he had defeated, but by the communities he had helped build. The galaxy was vast, and its future was unwritten, but as long as there were those who believed in peace, there was hope.